In this video I will show you how to create your first PHP file, and we talked about HTML files in the past. HTML files, they create the static look of a web page. So with a HTML file you can create the look of a HTML page, but it will be static. It will always look the same. Whatever you put down in that web page 5 years down the line, it will be the same. Yeah, my example is you create a web page for someone's birthday. I don't know, happy 30th birthday. In 5 years time it will still say happy 30th birthday. We looked at PHP. So PHP can improve HTML web pages by putting additional code into that web page. So parts of the web page can be created using PHP commands. The PHP commands will run, and the commands will usually create some sort of output. And we will look at that in this first example. So first, please start your text editor. In this case, I use a normal text editor. If you work on a Uclan machine, you can use Dreamweaver, and Dreamweaver would already create parts of the structure of the website for you. So I'm just typing the basic structure of a web page here, but if you use Dreamweaver, that will automatically be created for you. It will already be there. So here we are basically saying we're starting the HTML page, we're starting the header. The web page will usually have some sort of title. My first PHP page. Yeah. Okay, we finished with the header. Oh. We start the main body of the web page. And finish the page. So by default, whatever you put in that file will be HTML. So if I write something here, 1 + 1 equals, that's just HTML, which means that if you look at this file, you will just see 1 + 1 equals. But what we can do is we can then switch from HTML to PHP mode. So you could have this, I like to call it a sea of HTML code, and you can have little islands of PHP code in there. You need to tell the server that the following lines will be PHP code, and you do that by typing chevron ?PHP. Then you start your PHP code, and in the end, when you finish, you will write chevron again. So everything between this line, at the moment line 7, and this line, at the moment line 9, will be PHP code. Everything outside those lines will be HTML code. The file extension of this file also needs to be .php. The web server will try to save time. So if the file extension is not PHP, the web server will assume it's HTML, and the web server will send this file, if someone requests it, straight to the visitor without looking inside whether there's any PHP code. Only if the file extension is .php will the web server look into the file and search whether there's any PHP code in there. So I'm gonna save the file now. And I call it 1+1.php, and you can see my text editor now recognized that this is PHP, and it made the code colorful. Dreamweaver would do the same if you work on a Uclan machine. So now all the texts are highlighted in specific colors. So if you make a mistake, let's say if you forget to close the chevron, you can see the colors look different. So this makes it actually much easier to spot any mistakes you might make. So line 1 till 6 in this case is all HTML. Line 10 and 11 is HTML. So this is our C of HTML, and only here between the PHP code in line 7 and in line 9 do we have actual PHP code. I will use the echo command now. The echo command will output something, and in this case I want to output the result of 1+1, and it's a command in PHP. You usually tell the system that you finished your command by finishing the line with a semicolon. So if I save this file now, and if I put it on the server, and if someone, a visitor, requests this file from your server, the server will look, and all those lines of code, they will just stay as they are. The server will then figure out, oh, there's some PHP code in there. The server will run those commands. In this case, it will echo, it will output whatever 1+1 is. And the output will be sent to the server. To the visitor. The output will be sent to the visitor. Okay, let's save this file. If you have a pure HTML file, you can look at it on your own machine by just double-clicking on the file. In this case, we've got PHP code in there, and usually your own machine is not configured to be a web server, so your own machine can't run PHP code. That's why we got to send the file to the server. So I'm using FileZilla for that. Here's my file, and here's my area on the server. If you haven't uploaded any files yet, I suggest you create a directory. But one thing to note again is only files you put into this folder, whatever your username is, .bimserver2.com, only those files will be on the web. If you put files here in this root folder, they will not be able to be displayed on the web. So all your web files go into this folder, but you can create subfolders. So you could, for example, create a folder for whatever this module is called. So let's say, imagine the module code is BD1234. You could create that kind of folder. In this case, I'll just put this file in the root folder, but it might make sense for you to group your files together using folders. So I just drag and drop the file. Yeah. It's here now, and you can see there are different tabs at the bottom, and this was a successful transfer, which means there was no problem copying the file from my local hard disk to the server. Okay, I'll now start a web browser. Let's start Safari in my case. Here's my Safari. And here's the file 1+1. I'm at my own area on BIM Server 2. If I click on it, hopefully it will work, yeah. And this is the output we get. Let's compare the output we get with the code we put on the server. So this is the code in the PHP file. This is what we get. If I click on Show Page Source, you can see the page source at the bottom. And you can see here line 7, 8, and 9. They are not being sent to our visitor's web browser. Instead, our web server is running those lines of code, and the visitor of our website will only get the output. So the output of line 7, 8, 9 is 2. We calculate 1 plus 1 and we output whatever the result is because of the echo command. So the output of line 7, 8, and 9 is 2, and all the visitor gets is the result, in this case line 2. So if you use a PHP code, unless you make some unusual mistake, your visitors have no idea how the page was being created. So example is Facebook is using PHP. You have no idea how Facebook has been programmed to do what it's supposed to do, because you never see the code. You only get the output, and that's the difference with server-side code. PHP runs on the server. The server will run the code. You only get the output. If you compare that to something like JavaScript, which we talked about in the past, with JavaScript the code is running on the client, so you get the code sent to your machine and your machine will then run the code.